All right, and we're back. I'm John Rush, Drive Radio, and as you can see, we're still in the lab doing another video, and I had a question specifically for Rich, which kind of involves the lab, and that would be these efficiency numbers that you see on forums, on people's boxes, etc. Where do those numbers come from, and are all of the other numbers that are out there, my question is, from the other manufacturers, are they legitimate? In other words, does everybody else have a lab like this?
No, not everybody does. What we have here is a very sophisticated lab to test according to ISO 5011. And the reason that we have a lab like this is we set up through Southwest Research Institute, as you see the badge right here. Prior to us having this lab, we sent everything to them to be tested. So what we wanted to be able to do is, okay, Southwest Research has been testing air filters since, I think, prior to World War II type thing. And with all that they had learned over that many years of dirt testing, if they had to build a new lab, what would it be? That's why they designed this lab. They designed everything in here, set it all up. Since then, and I think that was in 2006, I believe. And since then, we have considerably upgraded it, but still the environmental controls are in place, and the computerized system is still very much upgraded for some of the different types of testing that we wanted to do. But still, if we took a filter, if we tested a filter today that was tested in, let's say, 2003 at Southwest Research, we'd get the same results. That's the beauty of ISO 5011, is if you go through their criteria, if you test according to that criteria, it's a rather narrow selection of criteria that you can use in ISO 5011, and you test it according to that parameter, you can duplicate that test many years later, or you can do it in, let's say, Germany or some other place that is able to test according to ISO, and you'll get valid results. They're for comparison testing. It's not a pass or fail. ISO 5011 doesn't care if it's 10% efficient. It just tells you, it isolates the parameters is what it does. And it's the other competitors, we have some other competitors that are able to test according to ISO 5011. It's not as sophisticated as this system is. This is definitely a very high-end system. As you can tell, we got a fortune wrapped up in this room. Our competitors, it's a smaller version of it. They can still run a good test, and if they follow ISO 5011 and they keep the room under control, it's still a valid ISO 5011 test.
I was just going to say, just the HVAC alone to control this room, most people probably couldn't afford to even handle that on their own.
I know when we first put in this, when we first built this room, we spent as much in the air handling and the environmental controls as we did and everything. In fact, that was a little bit more. And it's because it has to be so temperamental. If we're running this small test over here for this Polaris filter, and we decide to run a big test over there and pull 2,000 CFM out of this room, and a portion of this, as it gets pulled out, a portion of it goes back into the air handling and comes back in. So if we're running this test and we start that one up, if we're not able to control the environment, it would invalidate this one. So we didn't want to, so we didn't want to be able to do that, because these tests are expensive.
And real quick, and we're going to walk over here real fast, if I can get a good shot of this. There's a scale back here that has a box around it, and there's a box around it on purpose. And if I can get up here real quick, I'm going to show folks, if they can see the dial, just me blowing on it, if you can see the numbers down there, just me talking changes the weight of that scale. That's how precise they weigh a filter to know exactly where the baseline is.
It has to be. I mean, it's like I said, it's in a lot of ways, it's a simple test when you look at it, but when you look at everything that you have to have in place to control the variables and the potential variables, it's a big commitment, and it's really cool that K&N did this. It's expensive, but it's, as you saw with our previous conversation with Jerry, being able to come up with different ideas and being able to bring them in here and test them, so that we were sure that that when we turn out to the consumer a good product, something that we're happy with. And we do it on a quality. We pull, every year we test the top 50 part numbers, we run them through the lab. Every year the top 50 part numbers get cycled through here.
Great.
It's an absolute must that we
Great.
do that.
That's awesome. Well, Rich, thanks so much for having us, and we're going to continue on our tour.
Great.
Keep watching our channel, Drive Radio. I'm your host, John Rush. We'll be back here in just a moment.